So stated by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, it is important to use condoms for it will prevent the spread of diseases, STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. So, sexually transmitted diseases are chlamydia, gonorrhea, chlamydia, hepatitis B, syphilis, etc., etc. Condoms can help prevent that. So a new bill was proposed in 2016 in California, and if established, it would require porn stars to use condoms in their ads. So the bill additionally requires porn stars to use to get regular checkups, and the industry workers say that 6 billion. These regulations will cost $6 billion adult entertainment to flee California. So a quote by Isidore Hall was, whether it's agriculture, food or health industries, it is important for people to feel safe at work. So he is a man that, Isidore Hall is a man that tried to pass this legislation and it failed. He was unsuccessful twice. So many porn stars will disagree with this regulation due to the fact that they rely on these videos for a living. So condoms will cause pornographic acts such as for their nude and raw intercourse, in which they believe that those are the ways they attract the viewers. So demographics will eventually go down. So they rely on these videos to make money. Have you guys seen a check for porn stars? It's like thousands and thousands of dollars. So if all else goes wrong, guys. But no, I'm kidding. No, but they rely on these so they can pay for their houses, their mortgage, their cars, and if demographics go down, they will no longer be able to pay for these things. So obviously they don't want this bill to pass, and that's irrelevant because the spread of diseases is very that's horrible, right? So bring me to my first point, which is the demographics showing that there are many young viewers that watch porn. So for my first point, stated by the FDA, boys at the ages 12 to 17 are big consumers of pornography, and in recent studies, 90% of 8 to 16-year-olds watch porn at least once. And obviously most boys get their first interaction with sexual through a porn website. And I feel like since we're young, well, not necessarily us, but the younger generation, they see that porn stars do not wear condoms, so they in a way mimic their videos. They don't know any better, so I feel that if porn stars need to wear condoms in order for them to have the right impression of wearing condoms. Which brings me to my second point, which is it would help limit the spread of STIs and STIs, HIV, and it makes porn stars feel safe at work, well, safer. And you can see that porn stars work in the industry, so in that industry, they're spreading diseases amongst themselves, the porn stars. So if they step off that platform, they start spread disease in between, like everyone, you know? So I feel if they just stop the disease right there in that platform, in a way, it won't become an epidemic. And my third point is condoms are inexpensive. You can get condoms at Walgreens, CVS, local stores, and it'll prevent prevent a whole lot of trouble for everyone. And consumers need to see that you can get condoms anywhere, inexpensive, and honestly, having a baby is probably the worst STD out there. So, in conclusion, people do not realize how much pornography can affect people. For example, people tend to objectify women due to pornography. So they see how men treat women in their videos, and they reflect off that in a way, as I mentioned before, they mimic. And it shows how people treat women due to these videos. I just feel as if this bill needs to pass because women need to be treated with more respect, right? And I personally believe this bill should pass by, but it is ultimately up to you guys. Thank you.
So, David, what were your impressions?
Well, you clearly stated what you were trying to convince us of. The only things that, the things that I saw that you could do better were you were moving side to side like a little too much. You were like putting your hands in your pocket slightly. Also, there were parts in your speech where your volume just dropped for like you won and you got your pace back. Your structure was good, like you had your points and you went towards it. There was like some hesitation in there. Other than that, it was good.
Well, we do know what your topic is from the beginning. That's worthwhile, and your position on the bill becomes clearer as we go along, so that's okay. I think you need to demonstrate that a problem exists here. You take it as a given that there is widespread sexually transmitted infections in the porn industry. I don't see any information about that. You take it as a given that people are mimicking the behavior of what they see in pornography, and as a consequence, kids are not going to want to use condoms. I don't see any data on that. We don't have examples. We don't have testimony. We don't even have somebody saying, "Oh, the guys in porn don't wear condoms, so why should I?" We should be getting that from a 17-year-old, Bob Smith, Bobby Smith, who had his first sexual encounter when he was, in the 10th grade, and didn't put on his Jimmy hat because he didn't see it in the movies. And I'm going, okay, something like that, something that, connects this to what you're talking about. It's just all an assertion on your part. I think there's a theory behind this, but there's not much proof on it, which may in fact be why it's been voted down twice, because there's not much demonstration that a harm exists or that it's going to solve any harm. That's what we need to have in the argument. There's just this assumption. And, to me, I think there's a bigger problem here than whether or not the porn stars are at risk because of pornography, or that we're going to drive business out of the state because we put some regulation on it. You've got this data that says a whole bunch of kids are being exposed to pornography at a young age. I'm like, how come that's not the subject of your speech, and what the problems are for those kids that are being exposed to this? I think that's probably a bigger issue that could use some development and an argument on it. I don't know what we do about it, but the notion that it would create a problem, I think there's a realistic idea here, assuming you find some information on it. But I don't really get much information on it. The only data that I heard you present was the information about the bill. I think that you mentioned that the industry is a $6 billion industry, although I didn't get a source on that. The FDA apparently says that kids between the ages of 12 and 17 are the biggest consumers of this, and 90% of them have seen it once. So that was the one source citation I got. Everything else is just speculation, and it feels like it's very thin. What's that?
I started with stated by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Right, that was at the opening. That was the,
That's another source.
yeah. Well, that's your significance about condom use and why it's important to use condoms, which probably is not the controversy here. The controversy is really because you're talking about why it's important for porn stars to use condoms. I don't have any data that says porn stars are spreading STDs either among themselves or among the general population. If that's the case, let's see some evidence on that. Hall, is it Hall who is the sponsor of the bill?
Yes.
Yeah. Why aren't we getting some testimony from him or her? That person should be providing us with some data about what the heck is going on in the industry. That's what's motivated them to write this legislation in the first place. So I'm assuming that they've got some reason to believe that this is true. So that's the kind of thing that would probably be helpful in some of the points that you've got here. All right, the delivery. David picked out a couple of things. I think that you look at us pretty regularly. Maybe a couple of distracting issues. It doesn't feel like it's been practiced a lot, and the pacing is a little bit off. And I think a lot of the problem there is that there are content issues. I don't think your delivery is automatically problematic. I think the content development is the thing that is the problem, and that makes you a little bit more hesitant than you would be otherwise. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.